Hello everybody, my name is Hunter Mew, and you knew that already, and welcome to Ziggurat. And what is it exactly? Well, it's an FPS roguelite, or what some people call a roguelite, because it is a little bit more lenient on things and isn't as punishing compared to other roguelikes. And the style of... and it's mostly... hold on, let me say that again. You're a wizard, a mage, whichever term you want to give. You are a wizard, as I'm going to put it, who has come to challenge the Ziggurat in order to prove themselves the Daylon brothers. And it is actually a really nicely done roguelite. Now, for our game, I'm going to be focusing on a complete run. It could be multiple times in. And we're going to be starting off in the more basic sense, in order to explain everything easily. We're going to be going with Argo, who is your default character at the beginning. He is balanced, he doesn't have any good strengths or weaknesses as it is brought up here, but that's his advantage. He doesn't have any downsides. He starts off with a regular weapon, and the starting weapon is usually going to help out as well. So let's just jump in, because fortunately this game's very easy to load into. And welcome to the game! Now, Ziggurat, as I said, is a first-person roguelite, and it follows the room-by-room system. And there are a few things about it. First off, we can run and everything, you know, it's a standard FPS affair, but you also start with 2 weapons. Now, that's actually something I really love about this game, as in most roguelites, you start off with 1. The fact that you get a second weapon in this game is honestly a very nice touch, and there are 3 different classes of weapons you can get. There are spellbooks, staves, and alchemy weapons. And in each room something different can happen, such as this. We got a normal room full of monsters we have to fight, and as we fight the monsters they will drop things such as experience orbs, alchemy... not alchemy, mana crystals, and also chances of health potions and everything, because our health is limited. Along with that, there are a wide variety of enemies. We're starting off with some kind of basic ones on the first floor because, well, it is the very first floor. And the main enemy we're facing here is these little mushroom creatures. They're very simple. They just have attacks that all block a shot, but they're not that difficult. And for each enemy you defeat, you will generally, hold on, that thing's going through. Oh, it stopped. You generally get experience crystals, which you have to pick up. You do not get anything for free off the bat. Anything that is dropped has to be picked up, which means you can lose out on them because they do disappear after a while. This is a lore room, and hello. I was expecting this to come up later. This is a secret. In each floor, there is 1 secret room. And there are different tells in each floor to tell you what the secret is. And what do you get in the secret room if you find it? Well, you get a free perk. For this we get haste, which means our speed is increased. And also, you get a little bit back history on the developers of this game. And it's a nice little tidbit. I mean, you get a little history, you get a free perk, and you know, if you want to check how you're doing so far, you get this. You see here, we have our stats here. We have how much mana we can carry, our health. And we start off with our soul wands and the Eye of Twilight, which is sadly out of green mana. Either way, let's go get the scroll for some lore. That's short. There are multiple of these in pretty much there's every floor. It seems to follow the same with the secrets, where there is 1. And they also give experience, which you can upgrade with a perk to make it always give a level up. But over here, every level grants us a choice of 2 perks, which can be upgraded to 3 if you get a specific perk. And to start off with, you get meditation, which is a free heal, which we don't really need early on, because our mana pools aren't that large and we're already at full health. Or we could get alchemy pouch, which will increase the mana pool of our alchemy, which means when we get an alchemy weapon we can use it more. And also the level up did give us a tiny bit of mana. But unfortunately we're going to have to rely on our standard wands, which isn't a great weapon to start with. But the benefit of the wand is, while it's weak, it is a spammable and reusable weapon. And also, the alt fire of it is a pretty powerful weapon, which is a thing I actually kind of like. Every weapon has a separate power. Our staff, which is the serpent staff if I'm correct, watch me get it wrong, it's the Eye of Twilight. I am getting my staffs mixed up. Or is it staves? Oh well, the Eye of Twilight is a machine gun basically. Basic fire is a more stable, accurate fire stream of bullets, while the alternate fire is a much more deadly but less accurate variation, because it's a lot faster. And as for a wand, it's a very basic wand. It fires one bolt at a time, and the secondary fire is a spray of bolts that fire at once. Let's see, what do we get here? Oh boy, these little guys in an enclosed space are pretty horrible, and there are carrot demons. The carrots I can handle, because you know they gotta get up close and you don't have a charge. But the flying heads are annoying, because you remember the enemies in Doom, if you have played Doom. They can basically screw gravity and screw physics most of the time. Fortunately, they can't go directly through walls. Unfortunately, we didn't take that much damage, so hooray! This room. We will be coming back to this room, for we need a key. It is our way out, which we shall be going to last, because my aim is to find as much as possible. Okay, there's still places to explore. I thought this was the last room, but nope, there's a door there. But to get the key, we just got to do a little bit of platforming, which this game does have some actual platforming. It has some platforming puzzles in it, which we will hopefully get to see. It's a big room. Means we get a fair bit of leeway with what we're attacking. But I should bring up some information about the monsters a little bit. It's not just you're fighting set monsters every time. You notice how some of them look different? Like that green one there, it's a lot faster, isn't it? That's how this game kind of makes variations on the enemies. The enemies that are a different colour, like, you know, they're glowing green, they are called champions. And champions are more difficult to deal with because they have varying buffs on them, depending on the colour. Green is speed, blue is tankiness, and red is damage, and they can also be invisible. Well, I say invisible, they can cloak. And right here we get our two new perks, which we should choose, and we get meditation again, which is a bad bit of RNG on my part. It's not. I was hoping to get something else, but we do get staff scavenger, which means we get extra mana for our staves, which is again very useful. So now our staff can hold more mana, which means we can use it for longer when we fill it up. And we're dealing with bird creatures now. I don't know the names of every enemy, but I usually call them as I see them. You know, these are carrots. I usually just call them carrot goblins. I can't remember their exact name, but I kind of call them as I see them. Like, we got banshees up there, which you think would be dangerous. Yeah, there's an achievement I have. Yeah, this game has a lot of achievements, and they do lead to things, like, you know, there are hidden ones and everything. And there are also some that lead to unlockable characters, because the character I'm playing is the one you start with. And there are other ones you unlock as you play, like there are some, depending on what you did. You know, there are some like if I remember, kill 250 carrots. That gets you a specific class, and it's a challenge room. These are really simple, but dangerous. You have to have very decent... I went the wrong way. That's the problem with the challenge rooms, in my opinion. I should have paid attention to which side was which. But at least we didn't have to wait for the fire that time. You see, the goal of these rooms is that they are going to hurt you. There are usually dangers in the way to a reward. But if you do your timing right, you can avoid all sorts of damage. and get a reward. Now this is usually... Oh! We get 2! Usually it's 1 reward and some mana. But we get the Fireweaver Bomb and a Staff Scavenger perk. Now I don't remember the Fireweaver Bomb that much. Ah! Ah yes. That is the Fireweaver Bomb. It is a alchemy weapon, and throwing it will release a... will do minor damage, if I believe. I can actually check. Effective... Ah yes, it's a weapon designed against big enemies that are going to be trouble. Because it leaves a pool of fire, and since big enemies are generally going to be slow, that means it's going to be easy for us to get extra damage in, because, you know, they're going to be stuck in the fire for longer. But since we now have nothing left in the room, we're going to be taking on the boss. And it's Gunkar the Crusher. Now, there are multiple bosses for each floor, and each boss does something different. Like you see here, Gunkar the Crusher is more focused on getting up close to us and dealing AoE damage. So, basically this boss, and most bosses at the beginning, are actually easily handled by sort of just keeping an eye on them and just running while firing at them. At the same time, you do have to be careful because they can summon allies. They can do things like, as Gunkar here is doing, leap and hit you from a distance. So you have to be careful. But fortunately, they make it kind of fair, because enemies and usually damaging the boss itself can drop mana. And I'm going to have to wait a moment, because I want those rewards. Because the bosses usually give a good amount of experience when they die. And with that, we get 2 new perks. And we get 2 decent ones. We get Vigilant, which means every time we get into a battle room, we get some mana for all our pools. Or we can get Trader, which means if we have a full pool of mana, because let's say we don't have a weapon in that specific mana type, or we're just not using our weapon very often, or maybe there's some excess, it would use it on a different pool of mana, which is very handy. Because that means you can keep all your pools much more filled. And after defeating a boss, we get here, which is the end of the floor, which it tallies everything we did. You know, how many rooms did we clear, how many items did we get, the amount of experience, and we get time bonus based on how quickly we did the level. It's all very simple. And now we move on to the second floor, the Emberstone Quarry. And, ooh. We're starting off with a bit of a drop here. Oh well, simple platforming. And there's a spellbook right there. Each floor gives us a free weapon to start us off with. You know, we can replace it and everything. And we got the Skull of Xanatos. This is a really good spell, in my opinion. It is a homing skull that does AoE damage. It tracks onto the closest enemy in your crosshair. Or it'll just go for anything it's near. Yeah, it's a fancy skull. And also, it's second fire. We can get revenge. Ah! Eyeballs. They are actually pretty dangerous. But most enemies in this game usually fire in a way you can easily dodge. You just have to pay attention to what's going on. You see here, as long as I'm kind of sidestepping and keeping distance, I can actually avoid any damage. Which is very, very handy. Let me just use my Staff of Twilight here, because it is very handy to take these guys out, since it is an accurate weapon. Also, I don't want to lose out on this experience here. Those skulls can hold on. The only downside of the Spellbook of Xanatos is it can use a fair bit of mana, which is why stuff like the Staff of Twilight is also very handy, because it uses mana very slowly, because it's not expensive per shot. Whereas stuff like our fire bombs can be a bit expensive. What's in this room? More minions! Surprised we haven't gone into a modifier room yet. There are rooms that are modifiers, which are basically the same as any other room, but they throw a twist into it. It's stuff like, let's say, your mana is infinite, or your mana of a specific type is used less while others are used more. And there's also some random stuff like nostalgia. There's a specific modifier which literally makes everything look like pixels. And now we get a choice here. We can get the Mirror of Fate, which reveals important locations such as the portal key and the boss room. Or we can get Druid, which increases how much potions heal us, and I would honestly go for Druid. Because I am okay with looking around for the rooms. Not the secret rooms, they don't show up from the Mirror of Fate, I believe. Huh, we got another one of these. Let me just make sure... It's hard to tell. I might have to risk it. I'm going to wait for this to die out, though. There's my cue. Once I hear the fire stop crackling, I can get in. Get moving. I was wrong. This is gonna be a habit, isn't it? I'm gonna think I'm going the right way, and then I get the wrong one. Ow. I'm okay with taking damage. As long as I'm not near death. I mean, if I'm near death, I might just say, screw exploring and risk facing the boss. Ha, now what's our reward this time? It's been very samey this run. Ah, we get experience, score, and a perk. Life Awareness increases your health limit. That is very handy. Extra health is always going to be useful because it means we can take more damage, which means we can be a little more lenient with what we do. Now, what else is around? I mean, there is this room over here. An obelisk room. These rooms, if you don't have weapons good for dealing with lots of enemies, can be very problematic. Because the way these rooms work is that obelisks spawn in the room, as you can see, and while those are alive, enemies will always spawn. So you want to basically focus on the obelisk, but at the same time don't leave yourself wide open to being hit. There can be a different amount of obelisks, it just depends on how lucky you are. Like in this room, for example, I've actually gotten fairly lucky and gotten an obelisk room with only 2, which means when I kill one, the room's already at half health. But the enemies don't actually disappear when you defeat the obelisks, you have to defeat all the enemies left afterwards. And I better kill this quickly because I'm actually taking a fair bit of damage because there are AoE! Little AoE bastards flying around. Taste my skulls. These guys are usually not a problem if you keep your distance, but we're trying to get rid of the obelisk, so they're getting a lot of easy shots. Unfortunately, they drop potions and mana, but they don't drop any experience until you get rid of the obelisk. Which also drops some nice little goodies when you kill it, or as you're killing it. Which means, you know, the game's lenient for you. It knows you're gonna need the mana, you're gonna need the experience, so make sure you at least get it as you progress. It doesn't just give it to you at random intervals, and we got plenty of mana back after using up our skull a fair bit. I just want to keep an eye on the walls for any secrets. Hold up. There's a crack. And if I'm correct, this might mean... Yeah! Aren't I lucky? We get another secret room. And we get the spell collector, which means we get bigger mana pools. And we get another one of these little back history things.